अस्सलाम वालेकुम व्यूवर्स, मैं हूँ आयशा कौसर, आपकी होस्ट वॉइस ऑफ पैंस के प्लेटफॉर्म से। और मैं उम्मीद करती हूँ कि आप सब लोग खैरियत से होंगे। आज हमारा स्पेशल शो है इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स डे पे, और उसके हवाले से हमारे पास जो गेस्ट है वो निहायत ही इम्पोर्टेंट गेस्ट है। तो प्लीज हमारे साथ प्रोग्राम के एंड तक शामिल रहिएगा। हमें 2 लोगों ने देखना शुरू कर दिया। अगर आप लोग मुझे मैसेज करके बता दें कि एवरीथिंग इज ऑलराइट, और तो फिर हम जो है ना अपना प्रोग्राम का आगाज करेंगे फॉर्मली। 8 बज चुके हैं और 5 लोगों ने हमें देखना शुरू कर दिया है। तो मैं फिर से अब फॉर्मली स्टार्ट करती हूँ। मेरा नाम है आयशा कौसर और मैं आपको ज्वाइन कर रही हूँ वॉइस ऑफ पैंस के प्लेटफॉर्म से। और आज का हमारा शो जो है वो है इंटरनेशनल वुमेन डे के रिलेटेड। एंड बेसिकली हम इसमें डिस्कस करेंगे कि क्या स्ट्रगल होती है एक फीमेल की व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग आउटसाइड ऑल्सो, और जो आपकी घर की लाइफ होती है उसका बैलेंस कैसा रहता है, और हमारी कम्युनिटी जो है वो क्या कर रही है हमारी जो वुमेन है, जो यंग जनरेशन है, उसको एम्पावर करने के लिए कि वो नेक्स्ट जो है चेंजिंग वर्ल्ड जो है उसको कैसे वो जो है वो कॉम्बैट करेगी। उससे पहले मैं थोड़ी सी आपको अपडेट्स दे दूं वॉइस पाकिस्तान एसोसिएशन ऑफ न्यूजीलैंड की तरफ से। और वो ये है कि हमारे जो है वो डिजिटल इंक्लूजन जो प्रोग्राम है वो हमारा बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से चल रहा है। नेल्सन डिजिटल इंक्लूजन वर्कशॉप जो है वो एक पिछले ही दिनों हुई, और उसमें हमारे पास जो थे वो टोटल लर्नर्स जो थे जिन्होंने हमें ज्वाइन किया, जिन्होंने हमसे सीखा, वो थे तकरीबन 11 थे जो कि डिफरेंट एथनिसिटी से बिलोंग कर रहे थे, डिफरेंट कंट्रीज। तो ये एक पैंस की एक बड़ी अच्छी कोशिश है कि वो ना ही सिर्फ अपने ये जो है वो लोगों की अपस्किलिंग करिए, बट इट इज ओपन टू ऑल दी अदर पीपल। दे कैन कम, दे कैन अटेंड एंड दे कैन लर्न फ्रॉम अस। तो हमारे पास जो 11 लोग इस वर्कशॉप में शामिल थे वो थे पाकिस्तानी थे, बंगाली थे, इंडियन थे, फिलिपिनो थे, भूटानी थे, नेपाली एंड चाइना से ये लोग थे। और हमारे पास जो स्पेशल गेस्ट थे वो थे मैट लॉरी जो कि है काउंसलर नेल्सन सिटी, और हमारे पास थी मरी लिंडेया जो है ट्रेजरर नेल्सन मल्टीकल्चरल उधर नेल्सन में। तो उन्होंने हमें एज अ गेस्ट जो है वो ज्वाइन किया, बट इट वाज अ रियली वेरी सक्सेसफुल प्रोग्राम। और जितने भी हमारे व्यूअर्स है फ्रॉम नेल्सन एंड द सराउंडिंग, अगर आपको भी ऐसा मौका मिले कि आप कोई वर्कशॉप अटेंड कर सके या आपकी कोई लर्निंग हो सके, तो प्लीज आप लोग जाएं। इसको हम एडवर्टाइज करते हैं अपने फेसबुक पे पेज पे, एंड इफ यू रियली वांट टू गेट इनटू इट सो प्लीज डू इट। उसके बाद हम अपने शो का आगाज करते हैं। और मैं जैसा कि मैंने बताया, आज का हमारा शो जो है दैट इज रिलेटेड टू इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स डे। और बेसिकली इसको मनाया जाता है मार्च 8 पे, जो कि इसको सेलिब्रेट इसलिए किया जाता है जस्ट टू कमेमोरेट दी कल्चरल, पॉलिटिकल एंड सोशियो इकोनॉमिक अचीवमेंट्स ऑफ वुमेन। एंड इसको वुमेन राइट मूवमेंट के लिए इन्होंने किया, ब्रिंगिंग अटेंशन टू इश्यूज सच एज जेंडर इक्वालिटी, रिप्रोडक्टिव राइट्स एंड वायलेंस एंड अब्यूज अगेंस्ट वुमेन। तो बेसिकली वी कैन नॉट थैंक इनफ कि हमारा जो रिलीजन है वो बेसिकली हमें ये पूरे प्रॉपर राइट्स जो है हमें 1400 साल पहले ही मिल चुके थे, लेकिन वी आर जस्ट डूइंग इट क्योंकि एक ये हमारे लिए एक ये बस चांस है कि हमारी जो कम्युनिटी की फीमेल्स है हम उनको इनवाइट करें और उनसे थोड़ी सी ये गपशप लगे कि अच्छा कैसा रहा और क्या जर्नी थी और किस तरह जो है वो अचीव किया जो उनके पास अब तक है। तो वन बाय वन आई एम जस्ट गोना कॉल माय गेस्ट। हमारे पास है, सबसे पहली गेस्ट है रजीना जैनब, जो कि हैं बिजनेस ओनर है स्किन स्मिथ स्टूडियो की लास्ट 7 ईयर्स से, और कोचिंग एंड थेरेपी वो करती हैं, और उसकी ओनर है फ्रॉम द लास्ट 2 ईयर्स। एंड उनके 3 बच्चे हैं, half Pakistani and half Bulgarian, and she is also a mother to a little bit of autistic child. So it's gonna be very interesting to talk to her about that. और ये एक पैशनेट सपोर्टर हैं पाकिस्तानी वुमेन की कल्चरल एंड है, और ये पाकिस्तान में भी अपने 6 साल जो है वो गुजार के आई हैं. So welcome Regina on our show, and I will.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Regina. I'm just gonna take the other guest on, and then we're just gonna get started. So the next guest that we have got is who does not need any introduction, our very own woman wing lead, Mrs. Iman Hamid, and we have known her. We have known her like a guide who is who is leading all the Pakistani community, and she's also working in the Ministry of Social Development, and we have seen her everywhere, who is just supporting us, like anything. So welcome Mrs. Iman Hamid and Regina on our show.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ayesha. Thank you for having us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Thank you, Ayesha, for having us.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to start with Sister Regina. If you can let us know a little bit about yourself, who you are, and a little bit of like snapshot of yourself.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me to do this. So a little bit about myself. I'm Bulgarian, born and bred. I was born in Bulgaria by Bulgarian parents, born in a Christian family. I spent my young life and most of my youth, most of my formative years in Singapore. So I'm an Asian kid at heart. That's where I was brought up, and I was exposed to many cultures, to where I came from. And in my early 20s, I married in Pakistan, and I lived in Pakistan for 6 years. I worked and lived like most Pakistanis, a typical Pakistani lifestyle in Islamabad. And 10 years or 12 years ago, we came here with our 3 children, and here we are. And that's in short where I come from.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Thank you, Regina. But we're gonna discuss every aspect of this thing in detail later. But I'm just gonna ask the same question to Mrs. Iman. If you can just give a little intro of yourself, not as Mrs. Hamid, not as the woman lead, but just yourself. Yeah.
Jazakallah, Sister Ayesha. Assalamu alaikum to our viewers, our guest for this evening, and also to our host. I would like to acknowledge the big job that you do in this space. Thank you so much for keeping that up apart, despite the other pressure commitments that you attend to. And also a big thank you to PANZ for continuing to give us the opportunity and a platform to voice our opinion, to have that conversation with our community as well. So as per introduction, my name is Iman Hamid. I am a Tongan, born and bred in the Kingdom of Tonga, migrated to New Zealand about 30 years ago, settled in New Zealand, got married, a mother, a wife, and also a grandmother to 2 beautiful grandchildren. Alhamdulillah. Outside of the home, I would have to say I am also a public speaker. I involved myself in public speaking platform. I'm also in career-wise, as per introduction as well. I am a public servant for the last 7 years. My passion is about anything, to be honest. I guess it has to do with your capacity, community work, or a lot of the time we forget as women is a me time. So I guess I can say I can deprive my sleep at any time to give myself a me time in order to keep myself sane. But apart from that, I'm very happy to be here tonight to share and commemorate this event as the International Women's Day, even though it's not happening until the 8th of March. But given that we are all attentive to other commitments, it's nice to have that, on the PANZ platform. So Jazakallah Khair for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Yep, very well said. Thank you, Iman, for your introduction. I would just like to mention, sorry, I forgot that you had to have another guest, Miss Uzra Kasuri Baloch, but she couldn't join us because due to a family emergency and which she had to attend. So we are over here for you to entertain you for our show. So yeah. And the community who are watching us, if you have got any questions related to anything, to the things which these women are doing, just please let us know. Put that in the comments, and I'm gonna take your questions from there. All right. We're gonna go back to Miss Regina. So, if you would like to tell us that, as you are saying that you have got 3 children and you have been coming from Pakistan and you moved over here. So, what was the biggest challenge that you had while this, transition was coming in your life? That you were single, then you are getting married in a completely different culture, and then you are having kids and you have to move again. So how did this happen, and what were your struggles, I would say? Yeah.
Yes. Aisha, first, I wanted to mention that you can refer to me as Zainab. Zainab is
Okay.
my Muslim name that I treasure, and
Okay.
you're very welcome to use it. I really enjoy hearing it as well. So
Okay.
you can use that name. So starting from the beginning, of course, living in Singapore, it's a wonderfully safe environment, even in the early 80s and 90s when I was a child. The advantage of living in Singapore is obviously having all these melting pot of cultures. So when I met my husband, I wasn't shocked by the culture. There was no culture shock aspect as such because I already knew a lot of people who were Indian, Pakistani, Arab, etc. So there wasn't a culture shock. I had also visited Pakistan. I was, mashallah, very blessed because my father, he traveled quite a lot for work. He was an engineer. So I had visited Pakistan before knowing my husband. And so I fell in love with it. It is just the people. The people were just wonderful in Pakistan. Such a welcoming and warm environment. And I just felt like I belonged there. I never felt excluded or uncomfortable and not being part. So once I married and my wedding happened in Pakistan, and then I immediately had children, just like every Pakistani woman. I was pregnant the first year alone, and I had already worked. I was working and I was pregnant. And so culture shock wasn't drastic for me because I established a life for myself. I didn't wait for someone else to decide what my life should be in Pakistan. And this is one of those things that I always advise and to any Pakistani woman, because I suppose there is always a Pakistani woman feel that there is a difference the way you can live your life as a revert like myself, being a European revert and being a Pakistani from Pakistan. But I would say no, this is valid for all of us women. And I never waited for life to find me there. I just created a life for myself. And as such, culture was not a real issue. I accepted Islam on my free will. So I didn't accept Islam because of a husband. It was my own wish. And from a religious point of view, I didn't face an issue as well. Of course, when you live in Pakistan in a family environment, and I lived in an extended family environment, just about everyone. With in-laws and unmarried brothers and sisters in a big house with a lot of people visiting all the time. And that, of course, it's very confronting, because the privacy flies out the window. And you have to now negotiate all of these different characters and personalities. And I wasn't speaking Urdu as well. My Urdu was very limited. So it was definitely a challenge, 100%. And however, because I had created a life for myself, I managed to retain my individuality, and that helped me a lot being in Pakistan. And for that, Pakistan was actually a positive experience for me altogether.
Yeah, very good answer. And I can totally relate to the thing when you have said that living in a full family, that is
Yeah.
so confronting it is. And yeah, and I guess every female in Pakistan actually has to go through that phase where you are a stranger and everybody is looking at you, and you just have to be, all of a sudden, you just become answerable to everyone. At your home you are just,
Mm.
oh, I'm going
You
out,
see,
but when you are in a
yeah,
family, you
you
have
see
to tell
that's the
everyone
thing,
or just
Aisha.
ask for permission. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing,
Yeah.
Aisha. I think it's all
So
these relationships are give and take. All these relationships are give and take.
yeah,
And yes, you can allow yourself to adopt to a certain extent
yeah,
those manners where you probably will have to give a lot more accountability that you will give your own parents, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
also you have to retain yourself, and
yeah,
everybody changes with you, as long as you
yeah,
have that boundary that you create,
yeah.
as long as you retain your integrity, people
Hmm.
around you adjust with that. So that's what I did, and that's what I advocate as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
it's good that you had a good experience regarding that. But there
yeah.
are very many females who do not experience that, and instead of changing others, they have to change themselves. So there is no individuality. They have to leave their individual self and just be like others. Yeah, and that is
No,
what
you
we are over
see,
here to talk about.
Mm. You
Yeah,
see, you see, the thing is that this is exactly that brings a very nice point, Aisha, because interacting with a lot of women from the subcontinent, throughout my life, most of my friends are from the subcontinent. I
yeah,
understand the culture very profoundly. I'm very sensitive to it. Those problems, I really, really get them. I've lived that life. So this is exactly why I started my coaching and my therapy
yeah,
practice, because I see that there was a huge demand for that when it came to women and how
yeah.
they adjust in those circumstances and how
Hmm.
they thrive. Because it's not just a matter of survival, right? It's a matter of
Yeah.
thriving. It's a matter of
Mm.
progressing, doing better, raising better quality children, having more
Yeah.
fulfilling relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Mrs. Iman, I would like to ask the same question to you. So, how was it for you from where you are coming and then the change? How did you cope? Was it easy? Was it difficult? And how much support did you have?
Thank you, Sister Aisha. I can relate to what Sister Zainab was talking about. Coming, the culture is not a shock, but for me, it was because coming from the Kingdom of Tonga, our culture is very strict. And I'm not
Hmm.
sure whether it was just the boot camp that I was brought up in, or it has to be, in general. But speaking of cultural, so you're coming, religion is quite important in our culture as well. So, and education. So basically,
Hmm.
those are the two main focus that you have, or three add on, which is a family value. So coming to New Zealand, it was a culture shock for me because being brought up in a very strict environment, a very strict background, and you're coming here, you're seeing the dress code is different. You're seeing that the girls are out and about wherever they want to go. Sometimes the children don't even ask permission from their parents. Where I'm coming from, like you said, every family member needs to know where you're going, and they will tap and track you down where you're going as
Yeah.
well. So again, but then at the same time, there was a purpose for coming to New Zealand, and there
Hmm.
was something behind it. There was a reason behind it. So basically, for me personally, it was about like getting rid of some of the cultures in order for me to survive in New Zealand. If anything, I was just holding on to the value of the cultures, which is love, respect, caring, and compassion about something. Whereas the other strict culture, you're not gonna survive in New Zealand. So therefore, I slowly starting departing from those, but just hold on
Hmm.
to the value of my culture,
Yeah.
which it has helped me throughout my journey in New Zealand. And at the same time, you're being brought up in an extended family environment as well. When you're coming to New Zealand, you see the family structure is totally different as well.
Yeah.
There is hardly any extended families to give you that support. So therefore, obviously, the support will always be very limited. But as a young woman coming from a very strong background as well, and a female background, a very strong female background, you've got to have some goals in your mind from a very
Mhm.
young age, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly where I was coming from. So the goal
Mhm.
was to have a better life, and better life comes with hard work from a
Yeah.
very young age, at the same time. So not only did you have to adapt to the culture, but you have to also learning the structure of the country as well, and accept it. It's about that acceptance. It's very important as you are learning to adapt to to the new home that you want to settle in. But I guess I just have to say that over time, as you are learning a lot and educating yourself, networking, navigating through the system and things like that, you slowly start to feel like that you are a part of the society.
Mhm.
However, as Sister Zainab said, we don't change ourselves. Sometimes we change at the beginning so that we can feel, included into a certain circles. But as soon as you stabilize yourself, then you start rejuvenating your own self, because that's where your strength lies. So that's exactly what has happened with me. You just learn to adapt, but then at the same time do not lose the strength
Yeah.
in your own self, because that's
Mhm.
that's your magnesium of your journey as well. So that's it from my side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Iman. It was a very good answer, and I completely relate to that when you are saying keeping a little bit of yourself in you, but being a little bit more flexible so that you are adjusting in the other environment. So, yep,
Yes.
thank you for that. Yes, Sister Zainab. My next question would be that. Um, so you have been through this and then you managed to move over here, but what is now happening in your life if you talk about present and with your kids? So what is happening? What talk about your business and how do you deal with that?
Yes. Well, coming here was never really a priority for me. New Zealand was never a goal for me to live in. I was very happy in Asia, I have to say, you know. But my parents moved to New Zealand when they retired. They decided to retire from Singapore. New Zealand seemed like a lower pace, a kind of a comfortable place to retire. They came here. They never really retired, as many
Mm.
people do. They
Yeah.
started their own little company. And in the meantime, I was in Pakistan and I was working in real estate development. I had an excellent career that I really enjoyed. It took me a lot of places and it afforded me that independence and freedom that I think a lot of Pakistani women do not enjoy, unfortunately. So
Mm.
this is why I always advocate for Pakistani women to find a niche for themselves and do something, so they're not left dependent on absolutely everyone in the household. It's a
Yeah.
very difficult situation to be in, and it's really poor for the mental health as well. Even if you're very well taken care of, even if
Yeah.
you're looked after very lovingly, still that sense of not really contributing, it's hard on the mental health.
Mm.
So I was happy in Pakistan from a professional point of view. And I had, unfortunately, not unfortunate, that's definitely not unfortunate, but I hadn't planned to have more than one child. And I had the one child which I had planned for. And but Allah is the best planner of all.
Yeah.
So consecutively, I had two boys, one after the other, and that prevented me from doing my job the way I used to.
Mm.
There
Yeah.
was a lot of trouble involved, and I no longer could actually commit to my career with two very small babies. They were just literally just 11 months apart.
Mm.
So once that happened, I was then homebound.
Yeah.
And when you're homebound in Pakistan, I think a lot of the women who would hear this can relate. Life is very different. You
Yeah.
start seeing
Mm.
seeing how hard it has to be.
Mm.
How hard it is really. So when I was in that position, I felt like, okay, this is not a lifestyle that I can continue on with. With
Mm.
these little children. And at the time, we just felt, okay, it's really best. My mom, may Allah grant her Jannah, she's passed away now. She mentioned to me that, listen, with little children, I think New Zealand is amazing. Come over, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. We just packed our suitcases and we came, and that was it. We arrived in 2010 with 3 little kids. One was 6 months old, another one was 1.5 years, and my daughter was 5 years old. And here we were in a totally new country, and kind of like very unsure of what the best thing to do. You know what I mean? So from there on, I decided that, okay, we're here in a new place, and that's my general attitude towards life. I decided, okay, we're going to make a life here. We're going to give our level best. We're going to put our best effort. And then we start adjusting to New Zealand. And I think that my experience is very similar to a lot of other people who come to New Zealand, and maybe even Iman. When you come here, you know, all of a sudden, the career that I had, you know, in real estate development, I could no longer have here because there just wasn't an industry large enough for me to participate in, you know. And then on top of that, I had 3 small children and no help at all. In Pakistan, I had a lot of help with my kids. I had house help. I had so many relatives, aunties and grandmothers who were just very willing to chip in, you know, with childcare nonstop. But here I didn't have that. So I could no longer go back to work with the same intensity that I had previously known for myself. So, and then we discovered that it wasn't a discovery. I've actually known it for a long time, that my middle son was on the autism spectrum. So that changed you know, my plans a lot, because then he required a lot of time and therapies and a lot of my attention for me to bring him to a place where he would be better functioning. So everything pointed to the direction of me never having to rejoin my career and having to do something else. So this is how my business came to fruition. I sat there for a moment, and at the time it was a very hard time in our life because my mother was dying from cancer at the time, and basically I loved her so much. She was very close to me, and I was working a corporate career that I didn't love and didn't pay me enough for me to make sense to be there for 9 hours a day. And my children were basically raised in the kindergarten, you know, and constantly being ill. I think that so many of women can relate to this experience. And so I had a moment where I thought to myself that what is the best thing to do here? Or what could you do? You know, Zainab, what could you do that you can employ yourself at your own timing and with your own resources in order to exit the corporate world and dedicate time to where the time was needed? So this is how my business, Skinsmith, came to existence. Because I've always loved makeup, I've always loved hair. I always had a very steady hand that could only be put to use in that. I could never become a surgeon with that because I was scared of blood. So, and I started my business. It was literally overnight. And I started it with no money at all, with the minimum amount of money I could possibly start anything with. And in addition to that, I quit my job the following week. So I did not wait for the business to start making money for me in order for me to quit my job. I realized that I can't be a mom full time and work full time and have a business full time. It was just not possible. So I had to make choices. And that's what happened. That's how I started my business. And alhamdulillah, this business has really done wonders for me. Yeah, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I'm completely lost in your answer because there are so many points where I can just relate to you. And especially with the young children, you know, it is so hard that you just keep on thinking, I'm such a bad mother. You know, it happens so many times, but but basically the reason why to our community members, I would just to all the females that are watching us, I would like to tell you that the reason why I'm asking your history is because there are many other females who can relate to you, that and it is not that you just, you know, the best thing is what you did is that you haven't given up. all right, I give up. I need to look after the kids and I'm off from the work. But you kept on with your passion. You moved with that, and you found a way where you can take two things simultaneously. So that
Yeah.
is basically the message that we want to give today on this International Women's Day, that for
Mm.
females, everything is possible. It's just that you have to put that effort in. You have to think wisely, and you have to prioritize your things and then plan accordingly. So very well done, Zainab. Thank you very much for your answer. I'm going to move next to Mrs. Iman, and I'm just going to take a question because you are the lead of the women wing. So what are we doing to empower our females in the community? And I'm just going to take I had the same question, and then I've got this question from Muhammad Junaid Atta, which is asking the same thing. If you can read.
Yeah. So the question is, education is one of the most important means of empowering women. We have seen many women. Acha, Jazakallah for the question, brother Junaid. It is very true. Education is not only important for the mothers, but for our children. And I have come across a lot of our women in the community with qualification that can what do you call it, take them, further with this profession in New Zealand, but because of the NZQA policy that differs the qualification in Pakistan and also in New Zealand, so that's the barrier there. However, for the women in the community that have teaching qualification but has not yet practiced in New Zealand, please reach out to us, the PANZ Women Wing, or the platform of Pakistani Association of New Zealand, and discuss your scenarios. Remember, at the end of the day, it's always a case by case scenario. However, this is our responsibility as community leaders to voice your opinions, to relay your situations, because the current Pakistani Association of New Zealand team has got a very good connection with a lot of the government sectors at the moment. And this is the purpose, and this is the intention of having an association, is not just to form an association and leave it there as a title, but they have been working tirelessly throughout their terms to network and connect with relevant government sectors that will benefit us as our community as well. As a matter of fact, I am currently, in communication with the Ministry for Ethnic Communities and also the Race Relations Commission as well, in terms of ways that our women who are having this qualification to make something easier for them rather than putting a big barrier there. Because all the time, yes, we do understand the regulations, we do understand the policies, but it can't be reviewed. And it cannot be reviewed if we are not aware that there is a situation or some cases in our communities that we cannot do anything about it. The only way that we are able to do something about it if we are aware that there is a situation that we can actually work together with the community to achieve something at the end to make it easier for our women. For all the women in the community that you have that you hold this qualification, do not give up. I would like you to to make contact with PANZ Women Wing. You've got our email address, which is pantsww@gmail.com. Email us and let us know what is your situation. And I cannot promise nothing happens overnight in New Zealand. As you know, there is a protocol that we need to go by, there is a process that we need to follow. But I'm not going to be enthusiastic to any situation that is being brought to my attention, and I will work as much as I can aligned with the PANS as well, the PANS team, to see where we can come up with a solution to any any barriers that we have that make it harder for our community members to work career-wise, or to step up from their comfort zone and do something to enhance the connection, especially when the government is advocating about social cohesion, inclusion, and diversity. But at the end of the day, I'm really sorry, we will not investigate things unless it's been brought to our attention. But again, at the same time, we are also initiating things based on our observations. We do not just wait for these situations to come on board, but we are also, that's the reason why we are attending so many government HUIs to gain the information, to get the resources, to network, to connect, and see where our community can benefit from. And this is why PANZ is very successful. We focus on the positive, we focus on the outcome, and we focus on the need of the community at large. Jazakallah.
Yep. Thank you for the detailed answer. And I agree that because of the New Zealand, they have got their own standards. To come up to that standard, you have to do a little bit of more study, I would say. And that is what actually stops them. And I have met so many females who are so highly educated, but the only thing that they have to do is do the IELTS for the language. And then they have to do a little bit of any teaching diploma or any sort of diploma to get into the field, so that you can get experience. And that experience is actually, I would say to everyone that it is actually gonna help you in the later phase, because it is a supervised experience. So you are not familiar with the environment where you're going to work. So you get supervisors to look after you, who are going to guide you and take you through that way. So if definitely I would go with your answer, that if you are looking into getting into the details of these kind of things, that how to get registered for that diploma, from where to get, and there are so many student loan sort of things available. So if you need any help regarding that, please contact us and we'll try to facilitate you as much as we can. All right. So, Sister Zainab, next question to you is that what do you think, what advice you would like to give to those females who are working, who are like me, who have got their young kids, and you have been through that phase? What keeps you going? What's your motivation, and how do you balance your personal and your professional life? Because you have said that you have got a child who is on the autism spectrum. So how do you deal with that?
You see that there is no formula that fits all, and everything starts with what your priority as a woman are, and what is your support network available to you, right? Because you can only prioritize if there is a support network around you, and if you have no support network, you have to plan accordingly too, right? So when it comes to, when you're saying that feeling like a bad mother, there is absolutely nothing wrong with prioritizing one's career, because New Zealand is an environment where you require two incomes in order to progress financially. So as a couple, we're talking about married women, as a couple, you would require to work, if you're looking to enhance yourself financially and achieve your financial goals here, right? So there is no point entertaining a mindset of being a bad mother because you're working, right? However, if you have made a decision to be at home, to stay at home with your child, and maybe you have a special needs child, maybe you have many children, maybe you have children with small age gap that you just need to commit yourself to, you have to make that decision wholeheartedly. It really comes to, number one, your circumstances, and number two, your motivation. Everything that you put your heart into with Allah's grace, you would do extremely well. It just requires a positive attitude and submission to your plan. If you're constantly kind of being a puppet between two worlds, where you feel that you have to be 100% the best mother in the world, 100% available, and also 100% at work, that is not possible. So that is a complete disbalance, and that causes mental health issues, emotional issues, relationship issues. It's just something that it's not worth living, in a circumstance like that. When it comes to me, for example, I didn't have a support system here because my support system, unfortunately, my mom passed away. And so I didn't have any extended family here, or my father, who is here, but completely not the typical Pakistani dad, you know.
Yeah.
Pakistani families are a lot more giving when it comes to a support system, and I didn't have that. So from my point of view, I didn't have the support system. I had a special needs child. I had a very small child, and I had another one who is the eldest and who was a very ambitious, academically ambitious child. So that means all of these required my time and my attention. So the decision was very clear. You know, I had to have employment that gave me a decent amount of income for the least amount of time. It's just maths, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how I planned it, and that's how I executed it. When it comes to women who are in the professional field, they need to be at work. You have to establish, do you have the support system to afford for yourself to work 14, 15 hours a day? No. Then you have to choose. What is your priority? Is your priority to be available for your children more time than you possibly are giving now? Or is your priority to grow professionally? You have to make the choice, and you make it wholeheartedly. You create a support system around yourself if you decide to commit yourself long-term to your career. That means you engage with your partner, with your husband, you discuss responsibilities, you bring him into the picture with a lot more hours than he usually was giving before, or you look for babysitters, or you look for kindergartens that give you the extended hours, you look for people who would support your children's academic goals, like tutors, etc. That is a choice you have to make. You know, as I say, we are not the sun, we can't shine everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and in addition to that, you cannot give to your family if your cup is empty. You know, this is something that Iman is very big on, and I'm blessed and fortunate that Iman is a good friend of mine for many years, and she has often said that you can't fill anyone's cup if your cup is empty. So that means that calculating me time is essential. It's not a luxury. You know, it is something that you have to have as an ingredient of your life, and if that means not becoming a CEO of your company in 5 years, I think it's a worthwhile exchange, because at the end of the day, accomplishing that goal sometime, reaching that high goal, once you reach it, you realize that's not the ultimate joy in life. It didn't bring you the happiness that you were expecting that you will bring. Why? Because it's only your ego that wants this kind of high achievements, but your soul wants to spread love into the world. It wants to receive love. It wants to have a beautiful family. It wants to have time for friends. It wants to beautify oneself. It wants to take care of the health, right? So I think that the balance is very specific for each person, but these are my points. When it comes to special needs children, I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, specially chosen us to be mothers of children with special needs, you know? And as it says in Quran, that Allah never burdens the soul beyond what it can bear, right? So with that mindset, you know, if you accept this as a mindset and not as a punishment, right? Children like my son require more time. They do. And I'm more than blessed. I'm more than grateful for having given him this time, because he has gone so far ahead just because he had that time from me. You know, he was homeschooled for 2 years. He went to special school. He went to a school mainstream, which would be very interesting maybe for some of your listeners, that my child went to mainstream for 3 days a week instead of 5, you know. So there is a lot of flexibility around the local schools when it comes to special needs children, but one has to be aware what their options are. And they have to just advocate for their kids, you know, and that advocating takes time as well. It takes research as well. You know, it takes creating a community as well. It's important to be part of a community. And I know a lot of women in the Pakistani community who have children on the spectrum. And I know they struggle, and that community is expanding as well. So it's very important being part of that community. And all of this is time. So you have to make the decision. Do you want to be a CEO or do you want to have a well-raised, well-adjusted child? It's a choice one has to make. And of course, that I would hear, but why don't the men, contribute to that? Men's contribution to raising children is absolutely invaluable. It is invaluable. It always shows when a child has been raised in a stable environment with a great male role model. It is absolutely important. But we can't substitute for mothers. As well, we can't substitute for fathers. We cannot substitute for mothers as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's my point of view. Yeah.
Very well said. Very well said. I hope that the listeners are listening to us and they're getting some, points out of that, and they are getting motivated by listening to you. So, yeah. Yes, Mrs. Thank you very much, Zainab. I'm just going to take Mrs. Iman over here and ask the same question. So, yes, how do you balance, and what advice would you like to give to our listeners? How do they keep that balance in their personal and professional life?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Aisha. I can resonate with what Sister Zainab was talking about. It's been modified to an individual, how you balance your personal life, your career, your community. Speaking from my point of view, my career, my home, and my community work, you're passionate about it, so you just got to dedicate and make time for it. A lot of the I think the normal human being will be saying, I don't have the time is too short, there's too much to do. You need to make the time. You need to be smarter than the time. For me
Yeah.
personally, if I can sleep 1 hour at a night, but knowing that all those tasks that I have, that I am passionate about, is completed, I'm happy. I'm sane. As long as I'm sane, that's all it matters, though. But talking about balance, I guess I can also relate to what Sister Zainab was saying. It's about your commitment as well. What is it that you want to commit to? And what is your priority, though? You are a mother, you are a husband, you are a profession, you are a community worker as well. So, how are you going to balance those if you are not going to be committed to them? However, you're not obliged to hold on to those, to some of the things that you have added on to your life, that it's not necessarily supposed to be there. You've just got to talk to yourself most of the time. Am I able to accommodate this? Is this thing within my capacity? Or am I looking to be a CEO and I know I don't have the time to work on that CEO role? So let it go. Let it go and just focus on what is important in front of you. And I was the type of a woman that just like to take on board so many things. And like Sister Zainab said, I gave back some advice that I couldn't apply to myself. But eventually, over time, I decided to apply the advices that I'm giving to other women to myself, and it feels so good. Limit your commitments, but then at the same time, there are some commitments that you cannot move away from. Those are your responsibilities. So you just got to make sure that what you add on to those responsibilities is something that you're still able to give 100% to, given with the capacity that you have. To the women in the community, the thing that I'm hearing a lot, I can understand that I have observed in different areas in Auckland alone. I can work out what is the priorities in North Shore. I can work out what are the priorities in South Auckland. I can work out what are the priorities in East Auckland and West Auckland as well. So therefore, in South Auckland, for instance, we have women with very young children, very young children. So that means their commitments is very tight sometimes, that avoiding them from coming forward to participating in community events. So, what do I do as a women wing lead? I divert then their commitments and accommodate, initiate events for the children, because I know they will come to those events because they will bring their children. And it's important that we balance our community at work. A community consists of male, female, and children. It's not men only, not female only. The children is the future of our community. The more we engage our children in our community work, the more they will be embracing it until they're old enough. And not only that, community work may just look like a volunteer role, but you have to understand embracing it will give you a lot of skills: leadership, communication, organization skills. There is a lot of skills that comes with community work. But I have to say that it's up to you as an individual how you modify your commitments to suit yourself, but at the same time, you'll still be able to self care, because it's important that you look after yourself. As we discussed earlier, for us women, we need to give ourselves me time. Me time is very important. And I was just having another session not long before this one with the
Yeah.
women in the community, which was just a women only event to discuss about women. And my guest speaker on that event was Dr. Noshin Sheikh, and she's a psychiatrist, a Pakistani psychiatrist. So I am thankful for her support, because her contributions to us women in the community, every time I have her on this platform, is very vital and very useful hints all the time to us women.
Yep. Thank you very much. And I was in that session too, and it was really great. Thank you for the detailed answer, Mrs. Iman. And I'm just gonna, as you have mentioned about children, I'm just gonna take this question from our very own Dr. Hanif Kazi. You both are mothers. How do you see the future of Muslim children?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I would like to answer this question, and Sister Zainab can just add on to that. As we know, we're not in a Muslim country. The society that we're living in at the moment is very challenging.
Hmm.
However, as Muslim parents, we need to making sure that the practice that we have at home for our children reflect the future we want our children to have.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, they will grow out of our home foundation, because they want to find a life. They want to either for education, either for career, things and stuff like that. But it's important that, like for example, on the community platform, we initiate Islamic studies, Islamic events and things like that, to bring our children together, so that they don't lose the value of being a Muslim, so that they don't lose the value of being a Pakistani or whichever culture that they belong to. At the end of the day, what I'm seeing at the moment, that there is a big issue with our Muslim children growing up in this environment if we do not take a strong approach to how we are going to hold our children to to be accountable for in the future when somebody question them about something. Though, if we are enthusiastic to holding our children closer to Islam, and also for us parents to practice Islam accordingly, because it's no way of micromanaging our children without
Hmm.
us parents doing it ourselves. We need to practice it. You cannot tell, go and do your namaz, and you're sitting over there watching TV. The child is going to say, why my mom and my dad telling me to go namaz and I'm watching, and they're watching TV? What's more important there? So lead by example is another strong way of making sure that our children can continue with the practice of Islam. And not only that, but we need to also advocate to our children that accept the outside world is not a problem.
Hmm.
Accept the existence is not a problem, but it doesn't mean you have to adopt it. You have to practice it, because a lot of the peer pressure that our children will bring home,
Hmm.
if we are not practicing it with them, is they will be coming home with the influence from their friends, from their the kids at school, and they will be asking you the question, why are my friends doing this but we're not doing? The other important thing is, do not be scared to have that difficult conversation with your children. Sit down and have that difficult conversation, whether if it's something personal, something to do with their school, something to do with their work, regardless how old your child is. sit down with them and make them understand that you are their go-to person. You are their pillars. You are their protectors, though. So it's important that you lead by examples in order for our children to maintain their value in Islam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Iman, for your answer. Yes, and I totally agree with that. But before saying anything on this, I'm just going to pass the same question to Sister Zainab, if you would like to say something on this.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair for letting me speak about this. Yes, I agree with all the points that Iman has pointed out, especially the last one, which is it's a very difficult thing to practice in Pakistani households, because there are a number of subjects in Pakistani households that have been completely taboo for many, many generations. And it's not easy for parents who have been raised in those environments where these were taboo subjects now to be completely forward and open to discuss things with their children, you know, in a very open manner. So this takes personal growth on behalf of the parents. And especially when someone is planning to be a parent, this is a moment when you begin to consider, you know, what your approach to your raising your child would be. So it's extremely important. For me, what I can add are 3 points. Number one is that I have understood that the teaching of Islam has to change in order for our children to relate to it and to become close to it and to love it. You know, that there were a number of, you know, that my experience in Pakistan is that what used to happen is the Maulvi Saab used to come home to your home, and then he would make you read the suparas, and he would smack you if you mispronounce or make you repeat incessantly. So what happened is, like, there was a lot of trauma around learning Islam in that manner. And I know a lot of Pakistanis who have told me, who have shared with me, that they were traumatized by those experiences. And in fact, they were separated, their heart was separated from the deen because of it, you know? So what they would do eventually as adults is they're going to do salah just automatically, you know? It's more of a yoga exercise rather than with any khushu and ikhlaq in that. You understand what I mean? So when it came to that, my conclusion was, when I observed that, because I had the opportunity to observe it, you know, firsthand, I took it upon myself to educate my children about Islam on my own. And I'm a revert, so I had to teach myself before I could educate anybody, you know? So in a great essence, my children have learned with me, you see? So whatever I wanted to pass on to them, I had to learn. You know, I was not raised with that. So they had quite a fresh kind of perspective, because I had just learned that a few years ago before I passed it on. You know, so my ambition as always with my children has been to explain the surahs of Quran, to explain their meaning, to give them resources from where the meaning came from, etc., rather than just teaching my children to recite it. You know, that is my personal approach, and I strongly recommend it, because our children will be questioned about Islam outside of our homes. Inevitably, they will be questioned, you know? So when they are equipped with confident knowledge about their own deen in English, you know, with understanding, they will be able to answer those questions, and they will be able to actually do, you know, they're able to actually inform, you know, the rest of society about Islam, you know, which gives tremendous power, because, you know, then you're not just a Muslim, you're an educated Muslim that is existing in New Zealand in equal par with anybody else, because you have your power of knowledge, you know, in the deen. You know, that's one of the things. The second thing is that I find very, very important is to be like Iman said, you have to be an example to your children. You know, you just have to be an example to your children. The bigotry of, you know, not practicing what you preach, it has to go. Otherwise, and you know what? It doesn't matter you're raising Muslim children in New Zealand with that skill, or you're raising them in Pakistan. Because more and more now, parents in Pakistan are facing the same problems with the deen that we are facing here in New Zealand, because Pakistani society has changed so much, right? And so these are kind of universal approaches to the deen. And the last thing, the third thing, is to be very confident, because we have to remember that, that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a single Muslim with his wife alone amongst non-believers,
Yeah.
So we as Muslim here in New Zealand, amongst people who are not Muslim, that's our situation is not unique. The whole Quran, it is written for people like us, It is, Allah has passed this message to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in a state when he was building the Ummah, right?
Yeah.
So he was alone. So he was not surrounded by Muslims to support him in his practice or to enhance his practice. So we have to understand that being alone in Islam, subhanAllah, it's not a curse, it's a blessing, that gives you an opportunity to not be affected by cultural practices and just focus on the deen alone, streamline your practice, read your Quran, improve your understanding, do your zakat, do your, sadaqah, do whatever is important for you, for your soul to feel comfortable. So if you're comfortable being a Muslim in New Zealand or anywhere else, alhamdulillah, this is the first step to raising children that are comfortable being Muslim with you.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sister Zainab. And there are so many points that very important points that you have mentioned. We are running short of time, so I'm just going to take the next question, which is a pretty important question, and that is about what's your say on racism, and how would you what would you advise our young women or the young daughters that we have got who are going to be out and about over here, and if they face anything which recently happened, what would you advise them what to do in that scenario, or how to train them, how to educate them?
Yes. Jazakallah khair for asking this question, because this is very important. Now, that doesn't matter in what shape or form we Muslim women come, we all are easily identifiable and easy target, due to wearing a hijab. A hijab wearing woman is always the first target to a person who is potentially going to be interested to target Muslims, right? Also, we are apparently easy target, right? Because we are women. Okay, so this is very important. This is very important now for women alone. When it comes to it, and when it comes to our girls, it's very important for us to raise them very vocal.
Yeah.
Because we can be presumed an easy target, but once attacked, it doesn't mean that we should act as easy target as well. Putting up resistance, calling the authorities, standing up for oneself, being completely firm on your position usually breaks down the offense of a person who is trying to racially attack you. They expect that you would not speak up. They expect that you will recoil. They expect that you be quiet about it, because that's what the media portrays us Muslim women to be, right?
Yeah.
We are quiet, we are subservient, we are easy target, right? Once you see, the best defense is offense, right? If you're being attacked, don't resist at all cost, resist proudly, firmly, vocally, knowing your rights, knowing your position, knowing how to contact the authorities, not letting it slide. That means it doesn't mean you were attacked, you resisted the attack, you were saved, then you keep quiet about it. Make it known that this has happened. Make noise, because I was exposed to a very important person in the Muslim community. Her name is Alia Denizem, and she has been on TV many times. She works with the government. She's the one who compiled the Royal Commission report for the attack on the 15th of March, and there were thousands of pages of reports of assaults and abuse against Muslims that were not reported before this happened. So that was quiet. So had this been knowledge, has it been brought up out in the open, it would have given a lot of confidence to the rest of the people in the community to resist this kind of attacks, And I always say to the girls, and even to my daughter, because she's very passionate about human advocacy, to always reach out to whoever is the person in charge. When it's in school, go to the principal, go to the advisors, go to the dean,
Hmm.
issue a public notice, all through the established and acceptable forms of communication that this is an issue, that this is going on, that there are girls in your school that are being treated differently, that are being called names, that are being excluded from activities, that are being, hurt or
Hmm.
teased, and once this is public, it has to be addressed,
Yeah.
so this is my point of view, that you have to build yourself, and you have to have a certain understanding of yourself and comfort with who you are, which comes from your parents. If your
Yeah.
parents teach you to be comfortable with who you are, the shade of your skin, the background that you have, the language which you speak, at home, if you are made to feel worthy and comfortable, then you would be worthy and comfortable in public as well. And people get the vibration of that, they get the energy of that. So it's very likely that they would not dare to attack you, knowing fully well that you will retaliate passionately against them.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Bullies like to attack the weak, they don't like to attack the strong.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Yep. Very
Yes.
true. I'm gonna take the same question. I'm just gonna ask the same question to Mrs. Iman. So, what's your take on racism, and how would you like to advise our young females?
Thank you, Sister Aisha. I really believe in what Sister Zainab was talking about. I would just like to express in terms of sometimes the barrier is the parents because
Hmm.
of cultural belief and language barrier, lack of knowledge, what to do, where to go, and how to deal with any situation of the same nature. So
Hmm.
therefore, these young females are well educated in New Zealand. Therefore, they need to take the steps to educate themselves where to go, what to do if some same thing happens to them, so that they can also, be vocal. If the
Hmm.
parents say, no, we don't want to report it, please, we don't want to look bad, we do not want to do this. The young females need to stand up for themselves and teach the parents that we are in a different country. This is how we deal with this. As Sister Zainab said, the report had so many pages of unreported incidents. Why?
Hmm.
Because of many factors around the cultural and also any sometimes it can be religious reason as well. But we are fortunate that we are in a country that treat these kind of incidents very seriously, and they
Yeah.
are still continue to work on that. So basically you need to educate yourself in what are the resources, what can you do, where to go, who can you talk to. The other important points that I want to express as well, like the community associations,
Hmm.
they are also the broker for every community to go to if something happens or they don't have a voice or have the ability to report anything with our community. If our community members don't know where to go or how to do anything about in relations to a similar type of incidents, the PANZ is available. Email them, send them information, talk to them. Then they will be able to assist you. Nothing of a legal advice, nothing of any sort of taking the matter into their own hands. But they are there to support any reporting, guide you where to go, and also to provide you with information of how to do things and how to deal with it. And this is the importance of participating and engaging in your community, because we all come here sometimes feeling isolated, feeling lonely, feeling no support. It's because we are not engaging in the community platforms that we are fortunate that they are there to support us. So definitely you should be reaching out and take it for granted, because it's another way of supporting anybody that's dealing with this matter. And it's zero tolerance. There is no place in here or anywhere whatsoever for racism. We have no space for that, but we must educate ourselves that it does exist. How to deal with it, it's important that we know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very detailed answer, and I completely second that we have to educate ourselves. The best thing is that we should know our rights. It is a country. It is a very good country who will listen to you and who is very advocative of all the human rights. So it is our right, and we should be using that. Lastly, thank you very much for your time. And it's getting out of the 1 hour time slot that we had. So quickly, if Sister Zainab, if you would like to give a last message to the all the females of our community, that would be great. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I don't have much to say except that I wanted to thank you for considering me part of the community. I think this is very touching because I truly feel very attached to Pakistan, and it means a lot to me to be um, given the opportunity to be on this platform. And I appreciate the ladies giving their time, or anybody else in the Pakistani community. And I work with many women in the community, and many of them are my friends. And I always treasure those relationships. I treasure my capacity of being close to Pakistan, even here in New Zealand. And that's really all. They're all welcome to reach out to me if they have any questions, if they just want to share anything that bothers them. As I always say, I'm a very deep well. Everything that comes to me never comes out from here, because I know that a lot of people don't have the support network to share sometimes, like you mentioned, Iman, that they come here and they're very alone, especially in the first few years. So if you need a new perspective, a fresh outlook, you're very welcome to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Sister Zainab, if I would just like to ask for your permission, if you can share your details, any email address where females can, if they want to contact you for the therapy.
Yeah,
or anything
absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely. I don't. I will give you that on your platform. I know that you have a chat group as well as a Facebook
Okay.
group, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
find me. You can find me at Regina Zainab Coaching on Facebook
Okay.
and also on Instagram. So you're welcome to contact me through that, or you can contact me on WhatsApp, and my WhatsApp number is 0204143880, and I will leave that number in your chat group if anybody wants to reach out.
Thank you very much, Sister Zainab. Yes, Mrs. Iman, same. If you have got any last message to give to our community ladies.
Yes, sure, Sister Aisha. Well, I think this is a topic that nobody wants to listen to because we are all affected by this topic. But it's important that we speak about it on this
Yeah.
at this moment, and it's got to do with the COVID. To all the ladies, to our community, please keep well, stay safe, and always keep yourself updated with all the updates from the government. And if there's any help at all or any support that you need in terms of information and things like that, please, the PANZ is available for you all to reach out to for all the support that you need. We are available for you. To the women, please have no fear contacting the PANZ women wing. I know that it can be quite difficult sometimes. मेरी उर्दू नहीं fluent है, लेकिन ये मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ है ना क्या बात है ना, though I can assist you where it's possible. And plus, there is always people that are working alongside with me that can also help with any language barrier and things like that. Like, and I'm very passionate about helping our women in general as well. And apart from that, this is a community platform, is a platform where it's safe for us women to come together. And as the women wing lead for the association, we do practice confidentiality. This is a very important thing that we practice in our role as a community. We must treat everyone with respect. We must include everyone in the work that we do. But I would recommend the women to step out of your comfort zone. It may be just an informal discussion. Even if you want to reach out and just have a discussion with us, the women wing, please do so. We are available to have that conversation with you, and don't let any barriers hold you back. We are here to work together, so let's achieve something at the end of the day. Jazakallah khair, Sister Aisha, Sister Zainab. Thank you for accepting my invitation for you to be here. As a very long friend of mine, I know that you will be the suitable person to be here tonight and celebrate the International Women's Day. I would also like to acknowledge the compliment made by Hanif Kouazi Zab. Thank you so much for your kind wordings on the comment, and also to Brother Junaid for your wonderful compliments. It encourages us women to continue what we are doing, and we are doing it the right way. And may Allah bless and guide us always.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I can't thank enough to both of you wonderful ladies for giving us your precious time and giving us an opportunity to have an insight in your life. Because the reason why I've asked you the questions which were very personal to you, because we can relate to it, and you have been now at a certain point where you have achieved something, and there are so many ladies who are who might be in that phase where they cannot decide what to do and what not to do. So maybe by looking at you, they have got a little bit of motivation to just get up and achieve something. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that you get more and more success, and maybe you become a CEO of another company or something like that.
Our own company.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, and may Allah give you a lot of success, and I wish you a good night now, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayesha. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you. So आज का हमारा प्रोग्राम यहीं पर ख़त्म हुआ. I'm sorry थोड़ा सा लंबा हो गया, और जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि इनकी जो लाइफ की थोड़ी हमने अंदर झांक के देखा, वो इसलिए था कि हमें थोड़ी सी मोटिवेशन मिले. जो भी हमारी कम्युनिटी की लेडीज हैं, जैसा कि हमारे भाई ने भी इधर कमेंट किया कि हाईली एजुकेटेड फीमेल्स इधर आती हैं न्यूजीलैंड में, but they are unable to carry on with their professional life. So what is actually stopping them? You have to ask this question tonight to yourself कि आपको क्या चीज जो है वो stop कर रही है, और क्या ऐसा कोई ऐसा alternate way है जो आप ले सकती हैं, और जिससे आपको कुछ ऐसा कर सके जिसके बारे में आप passionate है. Because at the end, there should be something that you are doing for yourself. So to all the ladies, look after yourself, and to all the men, please look after your ladies. इसके साथ ही मैं इजाजत लेना चाहूंगी. अपना बहुत सारा ख्याल रखिएगा, और इंशाल्लाह अगले हफ्ते हमारी मुलाकात होगी. अल्लाह हाफिज.